Hello and welcome to this new episode of Linux Literacy. Today, cat, the most underused command in your Linux toolkit. Coming up. So yes, today we are talking about cat. So cat is part of the GNU core util, and it's probably a command that you pretty much know and love, but you only do one thing with it, which is read file. And that's understandable, that's the reason why most people use this command, but it can do a lot more. So today we will go in depth into how to use it and what it can do for you. So let's start with, of course, the default to use cat in order to open a file. So we can do it just by writing cat and the name of the file, and that will show us the content of the file. Now we can also use cat through a pipe. So if you wanted to use any of the option that we are going to discover today with something else than cat, so through a pipe, you could. Now this command is completely useless because it's just pretty much printing the same thing that it was already going to print, but it's just to show that cat can work with a pipe. So the first thing that we're going to do with cat is actually create a file. And not only create a file, but create a file that we can write whatever we want from it. So by default, when cat doesn't have information, it will just take information from standard input. And if we redirect that information, we can throw it to a file, because by default it would just want to throw it back to standard output. But because we use that greater than symbol, we are able to throw the data into a file. So here we can write the information that we want into file2, and after that, if we read file2, we see that exactly the same writings are inside of file2. So we can write new files using cat. If you wanted to know how to get out of cat, it's Ctrl-D. So that's the way that you can quit cat while you're writing. But if you want to, just a simple way to write a file with whatever information you want, without nano, without any standard text editor, well, you can do it through cat. But let's say that we were not finished with our file and we wanted to put more information at the end of file2. So let's actually do cat greater than file2.txt, and what this will do is add at the end of our file more information. So we can add more lines of text, and if we read that file again, we see that we have the lines that we created at the start and the lines that we created afterwards. So we added information onto our file. So cat can be used to add things at the end of a file. Now the real original use of cat is to concatenate. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. If I am, great. If I'm not, deal with it. But cat was created to concatenate, or whatever that word is, multiple files together, or even more than files. You're going to see that a little bit later. But for now, we can glue together file and file2 into file3. And when we do that and we read the content, we see that the content of file 3 is exactly what we expected. The content of file 1 and file 2 together. So if we wanted, let's say, to add some information in the middle of both of those files, we can use the dash symbol. So with dash, we are able to tell cat that we want at that place to use standard input. Just like we were when we were creating a file or adding information at the end of a file, we will be able here to add some information in the middle of both of those files. So if we look at the result, once again, we have the lines of file 1, we have the lines that we added, and we have the lines of file 2. Now cat is not the only command that we can do those things in. Cat actually has a twin command that's called tack. And tack is exactly what it sounds like. It's just the reverse of cat. So it will read the lines bottom up instead of from the top to the bottom. So if we read our first file, we will see that the lines come out in reverse order. Now, all of the options that we are learning also apply to tack, but there's nothing more special than just being reverse cat with that command. Now, there is a few special options that we can use along with cat in order to do special behaviors. The first one would be to have numbered lines. So with the dash n option, we can have each line have the line number on the side. So that can be very useful if you need that information. And we can also make sure that the number lines only apply to actual content. It won't apply to just a new line. That can also be useful if you need that. Now, talking about lines with actual content, there's also an option that I like that is there to squeeze blank lines. So let's say that you have two new lines together like we have on our file. Well, we can squeeze them together to make sure that there's only one. If there would be 15 new lines, there would only end up being one line. We do that with the -s option, and the -s will just compress everything together so that multiple new lines end up into one new line. We can also tell Cat to highlight the end of a file or to highlight tabs. And there's also another option to highlight special hidden characters, which I won't show because I don't even have one in mind that I could show you. But at the end of the day, Cat is much more than what we originally use it for, right? We normally only use it to open a file, but it can truly be something useful inside of your toolkit, and I'm sure that you will think about it the next time that you need to just write a simple file. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed, of course you can subscribe, like, become a member, all the good things, and you can also write TAC in the comment. TAC to say that you're an absolute unit. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed, and of course, take care.